welcome to another Wuji Mountain Musings, the last chapter of my Chi Effect book that explores a lot of the topics in the book in a more poetic way, exploratory way where I muse on the topics so we can help go deeper into them. And today we're going to look at one of the 108 that are there in that last chapter, and this is number 33. I'm reading from my ebook version and just randomly pick them, and I'll read it and we'll explore, see what it's about. How wonderful when we can sense the influence of our own self-love on the world around us. Seeing yourself as your authentic and sovereign self, the truth of who you are beyond body-mind, is a blessed insight. Embracing infinite consciousness, source, expressing through us is such a key part of self-love. Yes, all we experience relating to body-mind is under our responsibility in some way and is reflected in our choices we make every day. All is a reflection of our awareness, consciously and subconsciously. It's not that we necessarily create or manifest anything, or any situation for that matter, but we are a big influencer. Embracing that responsibility is a gift and a key to our unfolding and evolution. Stay with this flow. So, we think of self-love, and in a world of puritanical kind of Western thinking, it sounds almost hedonistic when we talk of self. There's that ego consciousness that came from the Freudian Western philosophy and psychology that I think has really damaged a lot of people when we look at self-love. We also come from cultures, whether you're Asian or you're European, Hispanic, where you think of family first and you think of self as a servant to that family, which is a beautiful concept. But as a child who is in development psychologically, sense of self is subjugated, and to be anything relating to selfish is looked at as maybe not a good thing. So trust most all of us on this planet, unless you've had some very evolved parents or great grandparents that supported you, you tend to have this conditioning and programming within you. So when you say self-love, there's a bit of a stutter, especially in your intellectual and survival minds. If survival is based on doing good for your family and your society, then you put that first over self. In your intellectual mind, you weigh and balance how other people see you, and you judge yourself when you are too, selfish. And people who are selfish around us, we don't look kindly upon them. So there's a lot of programming going on in your consciousness and your subconsciousness and in your epigenetic subconscious, right? Remember, that comes from your tribal sense of awareness. Of course, in the tribe is number one. You must keep the tribe healthy and safe and do your part as a member of the tribe. So we have a deep, ancient epigenetic programming that conflicts a sense of self. But once we become awake, once we start to understand ourself in relationship to infinite consciousness, we know that self has to be number one. We have to be selfish. I always say that one of the highest spiritual pursuits is selfishness. And especially my friends in Poland, when I teach workshops there, they frown when I say that. They think I'm crazy. Well, Italians are no different for that matter. When we think of selfishness, we think we have done something wrong. We have veered from the virtuous path. But trust me, until you are fully selfish and until you can redefine self, you'll be trapped in this conditioning that keeps you from being truly sovereign. So what does that mean? Self-love. First, define two of those words, self and love. First, I'm going to look at self as a reflection that everything around me mirrors. If I see myself as a mirror or a reflection of everything around us, then all of a sudden I understand that every situation, every person, everything I experience has an influence that I am projecting upon it in some way. That could be my conditioning, my attitude, my belief system, my prejudices, my wishes, my wants, my intentions. The world you view is based on your worldview. I learned that in Philosophy 101 in university. It's a hard thing to accept, especially when you understand how deeply conditioned we all are. So, looking at self, reevaluating yourself, self-assessments, really observing how are you contributing to the world around you? What may you be holding that is influencing the world from being the world that you wish and hope it could be? And then the other word in self-love is love. And love is another word that needs absolute redefinition and reevaluation on a daily basis. Because if you think love is the Hallmark version of love or the puppy version of love, it's not going to serve you. Love has to be seen as the attention you place from heart resonance. And that's it. Love, your most valuable gift, by the way, is where you place your heart focus, where that attention from your heart is placed. That could be a person, a place, a thing, or your sense of self. So, love now is the perspective that comes from heart resonance that can't be seen through the lens of the intellectual mind. It certainly can't be seen from the highly conditioned survival mind that comes from that epigenetic programming, that conditioning of societal and family norms. Where does your heart resonance come from? Your intuitive mind. That place is what connects you up to spirit. So self now is defined by your spiritual connection to every atom in this universe. Love is defined by your heart resonance. Self-love now allows you to be fully selfish, because now the more you care for yourself in the way you eat, the way you think, the way you sleep, who you hang around with, the thoughts you carry, consciously and subconsciously, all influence the self that you present to the world. When you can resolve that sense of self, first by knowing me as self is a reflection of infinite consciousness. Secondly, that sense of self within me is a heart-resonant version of my sovereignty that I own and embrace. I accept my sovereignty. That means my internally referenced view of self. You can't be sovereign if you're externally referenced, if you're allowing the world around you to define you. It's a tough one because we want to be connected with others. We want to be in community, and that's beautiful. But to be in community as a sovereign being, as a selfish sovereign being, means that you can bring all that power of who you are to community. Inspire others to do the same. A community of sovereign, heart-centered beings is much more powerful than a community that has a herd mentality or a hive mentality, which is what we saw fear doing to society in these last couple of years. It's time we become selfish. It's time we understand the true essence of self-love so we can serve others in a better way. What do we learn on the airlines? I mean, anybody who's flown for the last 20 years, you hear, if there is an emergency on board and your oxygen masks fall, put it on yourself first. No matter what's happening to the people on either side of you, first get strong. First get your oxygen. Then you can make clear decisions on how to help others. This is key. This is probably one of the most spiritual messages you hear in the most mundane ways. Become a strong and sovereign and self-centered individual, understanding that your sense of self comes from infinite consciousness. Your sense of self means that you, at the core, are grounded and centered in heart resonance. It's the only self I accept as a definition. And then that self can enter into a situation we call relationships with other selves. And you become a sovereign entity with your body and your mind and your spirit. And you understand how those integrate together to become that sovereign self. So trust in self-love. Love yourself, respect yourself. It's the only way you're going to be kind and loving to anyone else. It's got to start at home. It's got to start with your sense of self. This is why I teach Qigong and meditation, so people could understand the pathways that help them reduce stress, find the inner quiet to discover who they are, to do the practices that you can respect your body, help this temple that carries consciousness to be strong, and then to understand the aspects of mind, that you don't have just one mind, but you have a survival, intellectual, and intuitive mind. Now my sense of self starts to grow with each new sense of being. How does that change the way you come to the world around you? How does that change your relationships? Everything in life is a relationship. And when you can do it with self-love, you inspire others to do the same. The world now requires this in each of us in the deepest ways, more than ever. And if we are really going to help change this world to be a better place, the one that we envision, we need to start first in our heart center, at home, redefining self so we can truly become self-loving, sovereign individuals and inspire others to do the same. Peace.